Microeconomics. And in this particular video lecture series, or this particular video lecture, that is, the demand for new capital and the divestment decision is what I'm going to cover. And this is from Chapter 11 homework, and it's from my Microeconomic Principles course. The reason I'm making this very specific video about this particular topic is there was a homework question related to this, and the students overall did poorly. There were quite a few students who it looks like they opened up the question, took a look at it, and said, I'm not bothering doing this, even trying to do this. And the students who even attempted it, well, the success rate was quite low. I think for the students who actually put an effort into doing this question, the rate for the course, the success rate of this was about 51% was the for the course, which is quite low. This is one of the reasons why I'm going to put this video lecture together. Hopefully it'll help students in the future if this appears on the third test or the final, and also for future iterations of the course that this resource will be available to students. So here is a screen capture of the particular question. Please note that I did make some changes to the numbers here, particularly the numbers that are written that have the blue square, the greenish blue square around them. So I would show students how to do a little walkthrough on this particular question. And I wouldn't actually do a particular question that they would be presented with. So what you have here is the investment schedule for a particular company. It lists out the projects here. So a factory in Buenos Aires, a factory in Caracas, a new headquarters in Rio de Janeiro, new logistics software, new distribution warehouse, and a new fleet of delivery trucks. It gives the total cost of these investments. So the factory in Buenos Aires is $25 million. The factory in Caracas is $15 million, etc. It also gives the estimated rate of return on that particular investment. So the factory in Buenos Aires has an estimated rate of return of 12%. The factory in Caracas 14%, and etc. So what we want to do here is we want to draw the investment function. And I think the issue that students had with this is that this investment function is discontinuous. It's not a continuous line. It's a series of 6 different lines. And I think this is what gave students the biggest difficulty with this particular question. And there were quite a few students who opened up the question and did nothing with it. So I'm assuming that they took a look at the question, read it, and went, I have no idea how to do this. And they decided to move on to another question. And even for the students who did attempt it, the success rate was quite low. So let me show you how to work through this. I just redid the table here in a smaller form. So what we mean by the investment schedule, or this investment curve, is we're going to take a look at the interest rates and how much is this firm going to invest given different interest rates. So if we take a look at this, the rate of return, the lowest rate of return is the new fleet of delivery trucks at 7%. So for every interest rate below 7%, this firm is going to invest in every single one of these projects because the estimated rate of return is greater than the interest rate. So for interest rates from 0 to 7%, every single one of these investments is going to be done by this particular firm. So if we just add up the numbers, all these numbers here, we get 57 million. Right? 25 and 15 million is 40. 5, that's 45 million, 51 million, 55 million, and 57 million. So for all interest rates between 0 and 7%, this firm is going to make investments of $57 million. So how would that look graphically? It would look something like that. Okay? It would be vertical at the 57 million because at 0% interest, it's going to invest 57 million. At 1% interest, it's going to make an investment in all of these projects. So it'll be 57 million at 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, 6%, up to 7%. Once it gets above 7%, it's no longer going to invest in the new fleet of trucks. The estimated rate of return is less than the interest rate. It will not pay for them to invest in that. So D1 represents every single investment that is going to occur for interest rates from 0 to 7%, which is the total of every single investment that this firm can engage. So we add all those numbers together, and it's vertical at that number, 57 million from 0 to 7% interest rate. Now, what happens when the interest rate goes above 7%? The fleet of new delivery trucks, or the new fleet of delivery trucks, will not pay at 7.1%. It will no longer be a worthwhile investment. So total investment, once we go above 7% interest rate, will decrease by $2 million up until we hit the next estimated rate of return. So this particular investment schedule, this investment curve, is going to be vertical at 55 million because we're subtracting off the 2 million of this investment that is no longer occurring. And it'll be vertical from 7 million to 10 million, the next estimated rate of return, because we will still engage in the investment of the new headquarters in Rio de Janeiro. So that's what D2 looks like. It's D1 shifted to the left by 2 million to account for the fact that the new fleet of delivery trucks is not a good investment anymore because the interest rate is greater than the estimated rate of return. And it's vertical from 7% to 10% because that new headquarters in Rio de Janeiro will be a viable investment for that range of interest rates from 7 to 10%. And let's keep going here. Let's go up, and now if the interest rate goes above 10%, that new headquarters in Rio de Janeiro is not a viable investment. The estimated rate of return is less than the interest rate, so therefore they won't invest in it. So this is what the next section of the investment curve is going to look like, this investment schedule, D3. It's D1 shifted over by 5 million to account for the fact that that new headquarters in Rio de Janeiro is not going to be taken because the rate of return, the estimated rate of return is less than the interest rate. And it's vertical from 10 to 12% because we go from the 10 to the 12%. The factory in Buenos Aires will still pay to invest in up until we reach 12%. And we continue doing this for each consecutive rate of return. All right, once the rate of return goes above 12%, the factory in Buenos Aires will not be a viable investment. The interest rate is greater than the estimated rate of return, so it is not a viable investment. So now D4 is just D3 shifted to the left by the 25 million. And it is vertical from 12 to 14 million, 12% to 14%, because that is the next threshold for the estimated rate of return. So it's just shifted over by that 25 million, and it's vertical from 12 to 14% interest because the factory in Caracas will still be invested in under that scenario. We go again. What happens if the interest rate goes above 14%? The factory in Caracas is not going to pay. So we subtract that off our total investment. So that 15 million, this is the shifting of D4 to D5, is that $15 million investment that's not occurring. And that investment range is good from 14 to 16%. And the last one, D6, is if we go above 16%, the new logistics software will not pay. So we subtract off $6 million of investment off of D5. So that's the shifting of D5 by that 6 million. And it is vertical from 6 to 18% interest because once the interest rate goes above 18%, the new distribution warehouse will no longer be viable. And this firm will invest in no capital investments at that high of an interest rate. So I think that was the main issue, that students did not realize that this was discontinuous, that there were 6 separate sections associated, and they were vertical at the investments that would occur at that particular investment range. So for the first one, from 0 to 7%, for the second one, from 7 to 10%, etc. So make sure that you understand this. There's a good chance that you will see this on the third test and even possibly on the final exam.